Hi everybody, my name is Amrita and this is Amrita by the Book, my booktube channel. A few weeks ago I made a video about Death on the Nile, which is one of my favorite Christie novels, and it was being adapted by Sir Kenneth Branagh, who has previously made Murder on the Orient Express, and that was kind of batshit and I really enjoyed it. So I was really looking forward to this one, but thanks to the pandemic and now the second wave, it was recently in the news that Death on the Nile has been postponed to an unspecified date. Boo! So if you're like me and you were looking forward to that and are now crushed with disappointment, which has been our state of being throughout this cursed year, then perhaps you might appreciate a list of other Christie adaptations that are pretty great. Now, all of these that I'm going to be mentioning in this video have been adapted by Sarah Phelps, who appears to be a one-woman Christie adaptation machine, and I approve. And the reason why I'm going so hard for Sarah Phelps is because I made the decision that I was going to talk about adaptations that didn't feature Poirot or Miss Marple. I'm sure I'll talk about those at a later date, but for right now, I want to talk about these four quality adaptations of some of her standalones and short stories. First up is And Then There Were None, which I think came out in 2015 if I'm not wrong, and was the first of the Phelps adaptations. This is a book that is famous in murder mystery circles because the way it is structured both within the novel and then you can imagine afterwards, after the events that are described in this book come to pass, even the people who would come to investigate what happened would be completely flummoxed because it is constructed in such a way that it is designed to leave everyone in the dark. So the story is that a bunch of people who don't know each other all receive invitations for this amazing holiday. And because this is the 1930s and nobody told them stranger danger, they all happily accept. And each of them has a different reason to want to accept because, some of them, don't know where to go. Some of them actually just want to get away. Some of them are freeloaders. Others don't have a job and are hoping to network. But basically, they all end up in this house in the middle of an island with no way off. And one by one, each of them begins to die. And as they die, the rest of the residents find out that each of the people that have been invited to this island have committed murder in the past. And not only have they committed murder, but they all got away with it. And so there's this tense standoff between the residents in that they can't trust each other because there's nobody on the island or in the house apart from themselves, and yet they're all dying, so it's one of them but they don't know who. Also, they all now know that they're murderers, so that's an extra layer of unreliability. And part of the reason why this book is so menacing is because and they know that there is no help forthcoming. There is no way that they can get off this island. There's no transport. They can't call for help. They have to rely on each other, but they cannot rely on each other. Nobody knows that they're in danger or even that they're on this island. They're absolutely alone and just dying one by one. This particular adaptation has Charles Dance, whom I adore, and also Toby Stephens and Aidan Turner, Anna Maxwell Martin. I mean, all of these adaptations have a stellar cast, and this one is one of the best. This is also the first anything that I'd seen Aidan Turner in, and I know a lot of you really love him, but my God, that sulky energy. It's hilarious. But the real star in this adaptation to me is the setting. They've somehow discovered the most perfect island, which is so eerie and menacing, and I would just be scared looking at it. It's pretty darn perfect. Next up is Witness for the Prosecution, which was originally a short story and has been made into film and TV a number of times. But I believe this is the first adaptation that sticks to the original ending, which is especially harrowing. So the story is that there is an older woman who starts an affair with a younger, unemployed man, and then a few months later she's discovered bludgeoned to death, and the chief suspect is the man that she's been having this affair with. His only hope is an alibi given to him by his girlfriend, whom he's been having on the side, except the girlfriend turns vindictive and tells him to basically go hang. However, he's represented by this lawyer who is really emotionally invested in this case, and he manages to expose the lying girlfriend on the stand. And what happens next is one of the great plot twists of all time. And the way it is resolved in this particular adaptation, I mean, the entire thing hinges on the performance of two people. One is Toby Jones as the lawyer, who is fantastic, and also Andrea Riseborough, who plays the girlfriend. And it also has Kim Cattrall as the older woman who's murdered, etc. But these two people are so good, and they really take you on a proper trip. And the things Toby Jones conveys in just one look, it's fabulous. As I was saying in my Death on the Nile video, Christie has this recurring theme about women and the things that they're willing to do for the men that they love, or just, you know, the men in their lives. And this particular story is one of her best in that particular theme. I really recommend this adaptation. Next up is Ordeal by Innocence, which is again one of Christie's favorite themes, which is unhappy families, unhappy upper class families. So in this one, you have this upper class couple with the mom being this really horrible, controlling, manipulative person, and she's an heiress, and she's adopted all these kids, and she basically emotionally abuses them. And when the story begins, the mother has been murdered, and the chief suspect is one of the sons. And before the son can stand trial, he is murdered in prison. But he went to his death maintaining his innocence, and he talked about this particular man who could provide him with an alibi. But the police are never able to find this man to give them the alibi, and that's why he gets arrested. And now it's years later, and the family is sort of knocking along as much as they're able, and the father is about to marry his secretary and girlfriend, and all of a sudden a man shows up and says, "Oh hey, I just heard that you might want me as an alibi for your brother." And he has this fantastic tale about how he left England right after the night of the murder and went away to Antarctica, and he's just returned to England and then discovered that, you know, he was the guy who was wanted for the alibi. And then since he can't free their brother, he does want to help clear their name. And this basically sets off an entire chain of events because, you know, life has moved on. They all thought they knew what happened, and now all of a sudden this man shows up and everything is up in the air again, because if Jack, the brother that died, didn't murder their mother, then who did? This adaptation has Bill Nighy as the dad, and, you know, I love him. He's so slippery, and I really enjoy him in roles like these where he's so unreliable. There's also Matthew Goode, who is playing the smarmy, oily, bitter, resentful character that he specializes in, and he is so good. I think it's a very competently made adaptation. Last up is The Pale Horse, starring Rufus Sewell, and I love Rufus Sewell. I have so much trouble pronouncing his name, but I love him despite that. That's how much I love him. Now, the story is that there's a woman who's discovered dead in the street, and she has a list of names of men hidden in her shoe. And so the police think that there might be something significant to that, and they start investigating. Now, the original Christie story is very different from this particular adaptation, where Sarah Phelps really went to town. There are so many different tracks and red herrings and just by the way information that's just stuck in there to confuse you that honestly a lot of the times I didn't know what was happening. In fact, I've seen this version twice and I am still kind of fuzzy on the details of some of the plot points. And I've heard that that is by design, but I am not sure. So if you're the kind of murder mystery viewer who likes their mysteries to be tied up with a bow at the end, then I suggest that you either watch one of the other adaptations or read the book, which is much more straightforward. But the adaptation is really great if you are more of a journey rather than the ending kind of person, because there are a bunch of really great performances, and there are witches, weird English villages, interracial relationships, Rufus Sewell being incredibly jealous and hot, there's a lady on pills, there are flashbacks. There are so many different things that are happening in this adaptation. I really enjoyed it, but this might be an acquired taste for some people. However, if you do like Rufus Sewell, then you should 100% watch this adaptation. Thank you for watching, and let me know if you've actually seen any of these or whether you'd be interested in seeing these. And do you have a favorite Christie adaptation that you think I should be checking out? For more videos, please hit the subscribe button.